harim, me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri, me'im Adonai, oseh shamayim va'aretz. Ezri, me'im Adonai, oseh shamayim va'aretz. I lift my eyes up to the mountains. From where does my help come? I lift my eyes up to the mountains. From where does my help come? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and of the earth. My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and of the earth. Esainai el harim, me'ayin yavo Ezri. Esainai el harim, me'ayin yavo Ezri.
We welcome you to this sort of unimaginable moment. I'm Rabbi Emily Hyatt. This is Steve Brodsky, and it is our incredibly sad honor to be with you today as we begin the process of saying goodbye to Mark Arlen. We, at a Jewish funeral, have a couple of jobs that are very important. The first thing that we do when we arrive at this moment is just to take a second and prepare ourselves for the very hard work of saying goodbye, knowing that there's almost nothing that we could do that would actually prepare ourselves for this moment. The second thing that we do is to tell the story of a life that ended much too soon. And yet, we still have this opportunity to understand and to know Mark in the fullness of his life. And so we will tell that story. And then we will begin the process of saying goodbye to his physical presence here with us. Before we begin, I just want to draw your attention to two things. Number one, if you have a cell phone, I ask you please to make sure that it is in a setting that it will not ring during our service. And number two, if you need to use the restrooms, they're out the back doors and to the right down the hallway. There's an accessible all-gender restroom at the end of that hallway. Turn right. There are 4 exits that will take you out of this sanctuary. All 4 of them have green exit signs in the 4 corners, or you can come back out the way that you entered in the back. And with that, we begin. We have a custom in Jewish tradition that we lean very heavily on our psalms, which are parts of our tradition texts that so many traditions share with us. Psalm 23 is a pretty famous one. It has this line in it that sticks with us that really reminds us of this moment. It says, "When I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me." And I always imagined that that psalm was teaching us about what happened after we die, that we go to the valley of the shadow of death, but we're not alone, and so it's not so scary. But our sages teach us that there's multiple ways to understand this psalm, and one of those ways is to imagine that we're not talking about our loved one. When we read those words, we're talking about us. We walk through the valley of the shadow of death, but we're not so afraid because we know that we are not alone. And to imagine that in this moment makes so much sense. A valley is the lowest that it can be. It's not even just flat, it is lower. This is the lowest you can imagine. You feel the sadness that takes you below where you have ever been. That's what happens when we grieve and we mourn and we lose. And so we walk in this valley of the shadow of death. We are low, and we remember that shadows are a product only of light. Were there not light, it would not be a shadow, it would just be darkness. Mark was a bright human who shed an enormous amount of light on the people that had, I think, truly the privilege and the pleasure of knowing him. That light is blocked today. And so we sit here in the valley of the shadow of death, and we are grateful that we do not sit alone.
Adonai roi lo echsar bino deshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yenahaleni nafshi yeshovev yancheni v'magle tzedek yancheni v'magle tzedek leman shemo gam ki elech begetz al mavet lo ira ki ata imadi shivtecha umishantecha heima yenachamuni taroch lefanai shulchan neged Sorirai Dishanta Vashem Roshi Kosi Revaya Ach Tov Chesed Yirdefuni Kol yemei chayai, kol yemei chayai, v'shavti beveit Adonai leorech yamim. Adonai roi lo echsar. Adonai roi lo echsar.
God is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. In just a moment, we will turn to our own prayers. We have all of this liturgy and all of this tradition that we use when we feel heartbroken, and yet we know that sometimes the words that we need are the words that we can only find in silence. I'll share a poem with you, like a prayer. Every word that is whispered and sung, every word shattered in a storm is a prayer. Every word that the heart cries and sighs to a distant home or forgotten dream in any language is a prayer. But maybe God above doesn't hear at all what our mouths utter. But prayer to God changes the prayer. So it's a prayer that extends all the way. It's a prayer that speaks and does. It's a prayer I say to myself for my own well-being and for my loved ones, and I will carry it to my journey's end. There is a prayer that opens the morning and a prayer that closes the day, a prayer that mourns, a prayer for light, for warmth, and for peace. We take a moment now for silent prayer.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. ואמרו אמן.
We turn now to all kinds of words that are going to be shared by a number of different people that are going to help us understand whatever it is that we need to know and hear and learn or take from the story of Mark's life, knowing that this is an impossible task, not just the saying goodbye, but also the telling of this story. It's like reading a book and not getting to know how it's supposed to end. and you feel bereft at the end of a story that you deeply loved. I learned last night so many things about Mark, including that he never stayed awake for a whole movie. So maybe there's something to not knowing how it ends or how it's supposed to end because you fall asleep every time. But I'll tell you one more thing that I learned that really I think is one of the best ways I've ever really understood someone. I didn't have the privilege of knowing Mark in his life, but I feel like I have a great honor of getting to know him through all of you. And you told me that I think for Mark's 40th birthday, he was gifted a flying lesson. And he, as he did with everything, went right for it and tried it. And not surprising because I think his father also had his pilot's license. And he loved flying, and he immersed himself in it, as I think was a Mark way of you love it, and so you love everything about it, and you know all the things about it. So much so that you commit yourself to a particular kind of plane, and then you name your dog after the plane, Piper. But here's what I really loved about the way that you guys told me this story, which is that you said that Mark loved flying for a number of reasons, but one of those reasons is because when he was up in the air, he saw the world differently. It was a whole different view and perspective of the planet, of what it means to exist when you're up there. And not only did he appreciate the perspective, he actually took that with him and applied it to his business and would talk about the point, right, of getting a different perspective and getting out of what you know so that you could see it differently. That's our job today. It feels impossible to imagine that we get to know and interact with Mark now because he's not here. But he is still here. And your job, all of our job, is to find a different perspective, to look at him differently, to come out of, just for a second, the grief and the loss and the shock so that we can see him and honor him, perhaps not from being on earth, on land with him, right next to him and being able to touch him, but being so far away that we can see him as a whole for who he is. And so we have him to thank for perhaps the ability to do that. So there's a lot of people that are going to come up and help us to tell this story today. Many of them are going to make a decision in the moment, whether they are going to share their words with us themselves or whether we'll read them for them, because this is a sort of impossible task. We're going to start with words from Patty.
I'm going to try to get through this. I'm not sure I can. To the love of my life, I'm lost without you right now. I'm so sad, mad. I'm heartbroken. I can't think straight. But I will be okay because I have no choice. Just like you didn't have a choice to leave your family. Mark and I were married for 39 years. We had just put a deposit down on our 40th anniversary trip. That would have been August 31st. Mark was my home. He was my partner, my constant, the love of my life. Together we built a life. We raised 4 beautiful children, shared countless memories, laughter, adventure, challenges, and moments that only the two of us will ever fully understand. Mark showed up for our family, for our children, for me, again and again. That's who he was. Mark had a way of making things feel steady and safe, even when life was hard. I knew I was I know wasn't facing it alone. He loved deeply, he was loyal, he was proud of his family, being a good husband and a father mattered to him. My heart is shattered. I don't know what life looks like without him. I won't pretend to have the answers. I feel lost and broken. One of my dearest friends said to me, thank you, said to me the other day that the two of you who blended together to become one person. He was my everything. And now I walk alone without my beloved. What I do know is that love like ours doesn't end. It lives on in our children, in the memories we carry, and in quiet moments when I am still feel him with me. Mark, my love, thank you for choosing me, for loving me, for giving me a lifetime of memories and dreams come true. Our motto was tomorrow isn't promised. Live each day to its fullest, and we did. I will carry you with me always. You were and always will be the greatest love of my life. I love you more than New York cheesecake, hot pastrami, and favorite walks in the park with our 3 dogs. Cheers to my beloved until we meet again, my king. I want to also thank my 6 incredible children who I could not do this without. And I really appreciate all of you coming today.
To share some words from Zach. You got it.
That was lovely, Mom. First, I want to acknowledge and thank everyone who showed up today, from near and far. It truly means so much to our family during what are some of the darkest and most unimaginable days of our lives. Your presence is a testament to how many people my dad touched throughout his life, and I hope all of us can carry his legacy forward in our own way. This is one of those days you know will come eventually, but nothing ever prepares you for it, especially when it comes far too soon, with so much life left to live. Also, for those who don't know me, my name is Zach, and I'm Mark's eldest son. Standing here today is incredibly difficult, but it's also an honor to share a few words about my dad and the man that we all loved. My dad had a great sense of humor. He had a natural ability to put smiles on people's faces and make others feel comfortable. He was inquisitive, curious, and also generally interested in people. Anytime we went to a sporting event, he'd strike up a conversation with the fans sitting next to us, talking about the game, the team, and learning a little bit more about their level of fandom. That's just who he was. He was also deeply devoted to his family. He really cherished us all, and we knew it. Even the family members that had pause. More than anything, he taught me to be a better man through the way that he treated others, and I'm forever grateful for that. My dad strongly believed in living life to its fullest. He didn't just talk about it, he actually lived it. Whether that meant taking time off to go on an adventure, prioritizing experiences, or finding joy in creative outlets, he made sure that we built memories together as a family. One of the greatest gifts he gave me was introducing me to the game of tennis when I was about 12 years old. Some of my earliest memories are of him absolutely demolishing me on the court. He would beat me 6-0, 6-0 quite regularly. But as time went on, and following in my dad's footsteps, I kept improving bit by bit. Eventually I got into the win column and then never looked back. When that happened, he decided that if he couldn't beat me, then we might as well join forces. So we entered numerous father-son doubles tournaments together and shared countless moments on the court racking up trophies. We even took trips to the US Open and Indian Wells to watch the pros, bonding over a sport that we both deeply loved. He was competitive in the best way, no matter the stakes. He just wanted to win. But he also taught me discipline, perseverance, and the joy of pushing yourself to get better. If you couldn't already tell, my dad was a huge sports fan, and one of my favorite memories will always be the day the Cleveland Cavaliers won the NBA championship. And snapped Cleveland's miserably long championship drought. Seeing how genuinely happy and emotional he was that day was truly unforgettable. It felt like one of those perfect moments in life. He was also incredibly motivating. Almost weekly, he'd send quotes into our family chat, little reminders to stay focused, stay positive, and keep moving forward. That encouragement meant more to me than he probably ever realized. As a financial planner for most of his life, he was always helping me come up with a plan, a budget, a strategy, and just kind of a way forward. But he never lost sight of what really mattered: people, time, and also living well. What makes this loss especially hard is knowing he still had so much life left to live. But what makes his passing is also a reminder to cherish every moment, to be present with the people we love, and to enjoy each day fully. My dad loved Dr. Seuss, and there's a quote that feels especially fitting today. "Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened." Dad, I feel incredibly lucky to have called you my father. Thank you for the lessons, the laughter, the love, and the memories. Your impact lives on through all of us, and we will carry your legacy forward. Love, Zach.
Thank you all so much for being here. It really means so much to me and my family. This is a poem I wrote called Pinch Me.
My world froze and then turned upside down, while the others around me continued on, unfazed, without a blip. Shock, denial, anger, disbelief. I hear seemingly foreign words come out of my mother's mouth through the phone. Your father is gone. She manages to croak out, incomprehensible. What do you mean, gone? I just spoke to him yesterday. He was fine. I refuse to accept this horrific news. You're kidding, right? If you knew him, you'd know sarcasm was his personal love language. A wail erupts, thick with terror. Realization strikes. It hits like a ton of bricks. A sucker punch in the gut. Never will he meet the man I'll marry. Never will he walk me down the aisle. Never will we have our daddy-daughter dance. Never will he meet a grandchild. Never will I look into his hazel eyes again. Never again will he hear me say, I love you, Dad. His absence, uncharted territory, moments and memories created together no more, blurry visions of what's to come. Question upon question assaults my mind, tirelessly seeking answers, attempting to make sense of the senseless. Desperate to hear this was a big misunderstanding, one of his poorly executed jokes gone too far, that he'll walk in the door at any moment, sweep my mom off her feet and say, honey, I'm home.
I don't think I ever asked my dad, but if I had to guess, I think his favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. And no, it's not just because he got to eat a delicious meal, although that was a big part of it. It's because every year, as each person's price of admission, he'd have the whole table go around and say what they were grateful for. As we went around the table, of sometimes tens of people, or just our immediate family, he never wavered in his focus on whoever was speaking. Initially, when he started this tradition, I was not thrilled about it, mostly for the fact that I had somehow been chosen to videotape all 30 minutes of it. But I came to really appreciate it, both because it gave him so much joy, and because it inspired people to really think about everything they were lucky to have. He genuinely listened to what each person had to say, even if it was some silly joke answer. While some people around the table would only be focused on the number of people between them in a food coma, Dad was interested in each person's life and what they brought to the metaphorical table, but also the dinner table, because, let's be honest, he was also looking forward to that meal. One of my last conversations with him, he told Chandler and I how proud of each of us 4 kids he was. And he told us that he was excited for us to follow the paths we had chosen. The 3 of us talked for a while in a way that was more open than any conversation we had had before. I was so excited for this new chapter of our relationship. And the loss of all these future moments is also something I'm grieving. While I'm so sad that he will never get the chance to see me get married or give me advice on to be as great a dad as he was, I am grateful that the opportunity to see me graduate from law school. I'm grateful you got to see me apply myself like you knew I could and put in the same hard work you did to build your career. I'm grateful to have your sense of humor that keeps people guessing if anything I say is true or just a goof. I'm grateful to have had you as a dad. I know that you're proud of me, and I will continue to make you proud. I love you, Dad, and I'm forever grateful for the time that we had. Thank you.
was planning on trying to honor Mark by offering some comic relief. I'm not sure how effective that's going to be, but I'll try. And I just want to, again, express how appreciative we are for all of you for showing up. I know he would have been thrilled to see all of you. Well, ideally under different circumstances, but just to see all of you here is really a blessing. And to clarify, I'm Mark's youngest son, Chandler, if we haven't met before. What did God say to Moses at the top of Mount Sinai? Take 2 tablets and call me in the morning. My dad loved that joke. I told it at my bar mitzvah, and when he heard it, he'd squeal with laughter. His morose, sometimes undetectable sense of humor may well be his most enduring legacy, and you were all likely victims. He would skillfully goof, tease, and mislead, only to cut the tension with the dramatic, just kidding. Nobody was safe. I recall a family trip to Mexico where another friendly Midwestern dad politely asked, "So where are you guys from?" Without missing a beat, he confidently replied, "Afghanistan." In business, I knew no finer mentor. All the way from college internships to working under him at his firm, GPS Financial Planning, he imparted 3 essential principles for success. Number 1, do what you say you're going to do. 2, always finish what you start. And 3, the one he struggled with the most, show up on time. These all valuable lessons, including one bonus piece of advice he shared one late night at work. Me, impatient to go home and eat dinner. Him, clueless it was already 7:30. As he dialed the phone, he remarked, "I don't have to do this, but it's the right thing to do." For such a hyper-motivated salesman, to hear he was spending time on a task that would generate no income, achieve no goals, and that no one would even learn about, spoke to his dedication to doing the right thing, reminding me, take care of those who count on you, and the rest falls into place. As a father, family member, and pillar of his community, Mark's positive outlook radiated outwards, always believing in a brighter future as long as we do the right things today. This positivity, however, only capped when addressing the Cleveland Browns, eternally convinced they would disappoint him and miss even the most crucial of extra points. To deliver on my promise of comedy, I'll close with one final story from my dad's childhood. On an August night in the 1970s, at a racetrack outside of Cleveland, Mark worked a summer job with his best friend, David Drucker. One particularly busy night manning the snack shop, faced with an onslaught of hungry hippies, Mark complained they didn't have enough time to cook the hot dogs all the way through, to which his boss simply replied, "Just serve them raw, they're too stoned to notice." And thus a star was born. Exciting, kind, humorous, empathetic, generous, and hardworking. My father, Mark, the joker, pilot, athlete, and friend. May his memory be a blessing. Amen.
getting older, so I got to get these out. Oh, that's better. You know, I was sitting here. First of all, I'm not going to do as well as my favorite sister-in-law, my niece, and my 3 beautiful nephews. And I'm not going to hold it together, but I'm going to do my best. I'll take any support animal from over here that wants to come up behind me right now. No, really, anyone who wants to come up. Maybe Ryan. Ryan, if you can come up. Thank you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Bradley, and this is tough. You know, Mark is my big brother. You know, the rabbi told me I probably need to cut this in half. So I'm going to really try. I'd first like to thank all of Mark's friends, family, co-workers, and clients who made it here today. You know, I greatly appreciate your time, effort, and the resources it took to be here to honor Mark. I also want to make a special thanks to the Jaffe and Perlman family, who made it much easier not only for myself, but my mother and her wonderful husband to be here today. Last year, Mark turned 65, and his wife did something very special for him. She asked many of you to write stories about your experiences with Mark. When I wrote mine, I realized it almost sounded like a eulogy. And when I began to sit down to write my thoughts for today, I decided to use some of this content. But I was so grateful to know that Mark not only got to hear many of my words already, but he also got to hear so many of yours. Mark was full of boundless energy. When visiting his paternal grandparents in Utah, Nana Rose and Grandpa Mike, bless their soul, my grandmother told me how Mark would bound out of bed every morning at 6 a.m. and say, "Let's go," you know. And while on the other hand, I had to literally be dragged out of bed and told that it was now 10:30. My grandmother returned Mark back to Cleveland on a leash. She indicated Mark bounced all the way home on the flight. She was a puddle of tears. As a child, Mark used to love the show Big Time Wrestling. He would love to get myself and my sister, Gail, to wrestle with him on the living room rug that Mark referred to as the ring. And he gave us all wrestling names. My name was Shakitsky. I don't remember Gail's name, but maybe she remembers. Unfortunately, if I happened to be walking by and stepped on the rug while Mark was sitting there, he would yell, "Shakitsky enters the ring!" and began tying me into a pretzel until my mother would come and break it up and say, "You're hurting him." It's funny, I didn't include this part because I was trying to cut my time. But I can still remember my dad's face getting involved, and he was just a beet red face trying to fight off Mark. With my father, he loved launching, he loved launching model rockets, flying model planes, and eventually ended up even learning how to fly real planes himself. In high school, Mark told me he liked playing pitcher on the baseball team because it was always the center of the action. Mark loved the excitement of sports and especially the competition of tennis. Mark's combination of energy, adventure, and competitiveness made him formidable whether he was at work or play. As a financial planner, all of these qualities gave Mark an unparalleled drive to be successful. Regarding his family, anyone who's ever hung out with the Arlen clan for a day or courageous enough for a weekend knows they better bring their A game, because by the end of the time you're with them, you'll have every ounce of energy sapped from you. Mark also passed down, as was discussed beautifully by everyone today, a very special tradition that I know will last for generations. Teasing. For Mark, every day was April Fool's. Mark would tell you something ridiculous, completely deadpan. And once you fell for it, surprise you with just kidding. He loved to get you as one of his favorite things. And I love that you said sarcasm was his love language. But more importantly, Mark cared about and strove to take care of everyone around him. From his coworkers and clients at GPS Financial, of which Mark would often tell me how much he appreciated all of you. All of his friends, which he would speak so fondly of. His parents, his mother and his father, his sister that he loved so deeply. His wife, who he adored. His children that he cherished. His dogs, which he treasured. And even his fish, which made him so happy. And especially, Mark took care of me. It's you. God, it's really hard to believe it. We're here. In our last conversation, Mark was encouraging me to wrap up several financial loose ends, and getting very frustrated with me, he said, "Do it now. You never know when something is going to happen to you." Before he left us, Mark helped me not only solidify my retirement, but also ensured I would be cared for in old age. This past Thanksgiving, I sent out a family text wishing everyone a happy holiday. And I wanted to read Mark's response. Thinking of all of you today and feeling grateful for the strange little constellation we make as a family, I'm especially thankful for Mom and Kurt, your steadiness, and the way you both keep showing up with heart at 89 and 90. I didn't mean to announce that to everybody. And Brad and Gail, I hope today brings a little peace, a little laughter, and a reminder of how lucky we are to still share this journey together. Okay, I'm gonna need can I get 10 minutes more? It's not for...
I'm not going to hook you off the stage.
I'm just kidding. I had to do that for Mark. I had to get the rabbi for him. Mark, thank you for all your love and support. You will be so deeply missed, but I know that our connection will not be lost. I hope you're now with Dad, letting him show you his latest magic tricks, lighting model rockets, meeting your favorite sports stars, causing trouble, and teasing everyone in heaven. I love you so very much, I'm going to miss you. Thank you.
As we do this very important hugging, and we prepare to conclude this part of our service, I think that all of you today did a pretty masterful job of doing something that I think, from what I understand from our conversation about Mark, that he would have really valued. When you told me why he became a financial planner, you said it was because his dad had had a career as a psychiatrist and had really helped people, and that he looked up to that really tremendously and wanted to find his own way to do that kind of work and to help people. And he did it not through therapy, but through financial advice and wisdom and helping people settle and control their affairs. I think that today his family did a pretty masterful and beautiful job of taking exactly that legacy and helping people to navigate through this time and to hold Mark's legacy and who he was and is for you, and to help people move through this moment with a little bit of humor and a whole lot of Mark. And I think it's a hard thing to do, and you did it with great grace and with great strength, and I think he would be very proud of you. And it is deeply uncomfortable when someone makes a joke and then doesn't tell you it's a joke for a minute, and you're like, 10 minutes, really? I mean, you do you, I'm here for it, but oh my gosh. So now I feel that, and I feel included in it, and I thank you, because I understand that's a deep part of the Mark legacy. And so with that, I feel like for the last little bit, we have flown above. We have been looking sort of from afar at the story of Mark, and now we land. And we come back to earth and to the next part of what it is that we have to do together today to say goodbye to Mark's physical presence. And it will be hard, and it feels almost a little bit like an unwelcome return to reality at this moment. And yet we do it because we know we have to, and because it is our obligation and our honor to steward Mark through this time and into this next phase of how we understand life to be. And so we do that with the words of El Malei Rachamim. It is our prayer for the deceased, and we rise as we are able.
El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, המצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה. עם קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת מנחם מנדל בן מנשה שמואל ומדל יהודית שהלך לעולמו. בעל הרחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר אמן.
God of abundant mercy, God most high, may the soul of our loved one who has gone into eternity find the gift of perfect peace in your embrace, together with the holy and pure whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold Mark D. Arlen close to you forever so that his soul may be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May he find a home with you, and may he rest in peace. And together we say,
Amen.
Amen.
Wasn't listening.
No, go ahead.
Do you have it?
No, but I can. You go first.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude our service here at Temple Emanuel. We will have interment at Emanuel Cemetery within Fairmount. If you'd like to join us at the cemetery for interment, we do have an escorted procession. If you'd like to join us in that procession, we'll ask you to return to your cars as quickly as possible and have your hazards on. In addition to your headlights and daytime running lights, please have your hazards on. That'll help identify you as a participant in the procession. We'll ask everyone to remain in their places. We escort the family and the casket out. If I can invite forward Tyler Bernard, Andrea Hammer, Betsy, Kate, Aunt Sandy, Julia Stern, Kathy Nowalk, and Mark Goldstein for pallbearers here at the synagogue.
While they gather, I will let you know that the family will be gathering for Shiva today, immediately following this service, with a service at 6:30, and again tomorrow with no service, and finally on Sunday, service time to be determined.